What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking all about SSR characters. Now, you guys probably have pulled a decent amount of these SSR characters, mostly because the game gives you a ton of summons at the beginning of the game, and the rates are pretty decent in Etheria Restart. And you guys might be confused on what you guys want to actually or should build. Now, I'm going to be telling you guys pretty much in a priority list which characters are best to build ASAP, and which ones you might want to hold off on and save for a specific area of content that you'll run into in the late game. Now, that being said, if you do have a character you want to build just because you like how they look or how their skill kit is, you should build them anyways, because it's always better to build waifu or husbando over the meta. So don't feel ashamed if you do that. I've made that decision a ton of times already on my account, and I do not regret it. So basically, we're going to organize this into a tier list to make it easier to visualize. So we'll have 5 tiers, and you'll notice that there's no tier that actually says bad or don't build. And the reason is because every single SSR in this game has a usage in PvE or PvP, which is great. I've never actually seen a gacha game that has every single character be usable. So Etheria Restart is very refreshing in that way. And basically, there's going to be 5 tiers. You have the build ASAP tier. You want to build these characters as soon as you can. The high priority tier, these characters are also good to build, but they're not going to be as important to build as quickly as the tier above them. Then we have the niche tier. These characters will have a specific area of content they're good in. They might be even amazing in that niche, but they're not going to be good in overall general content. So we have them in the niche tier. Then the PvP only tier. These characters are specifically only for PvP. Some of them are going to be insanely stronger in PvP, so they're definitely worth thinking about. And then we have the Lian tier. She's basically the one character you don't want to really use. You're only going to ever use her for the Hyperlink Charter, and then you're going to reset her and probably never use her again. But before we start today's video, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Boot.dev. Boot.dev is revolutionizing the way people learn programming by tackling one of the hardest problems in online education: boredom. They use game-inspired design to keep you engaged and motivated all the way to your goal of becoming a back-end developer. If at any point you're interested, go to boot.dev and try out the courses for free. Then use my code Samool to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. As you can see from me using boot.dev, the lessons are super hands-on. You're writing code right into the browser and building real projects, not just reading theory from a boring textbook. I've been going through the backend track, which covers Python, Go, and SQL from start to finish, and it's been surprisingly fun to chip away at every day. One thing I really like is the way how the platform keeps you moving forward with EXP, levels, and achievements. If you ever get stuck, there's Boots, their AI wizard bear who doesn't just hand you answers, but asks you questions to help you figure it out yourself. Plus, all of their written content is free to read, and the paid plan unlocks the interactive coding, AI help, and progress tracking. If you're serious about learning to code, check out Boot.dev. They even have a 30-day no questions asked refund policy and a free demo for every course, so there's no risk in giving it a try. Go to boot.dev and try out the courses for free right now. Make sure to use my code Samool, S-A-M-O-O-L, to get 25% off your first year entirely if you choose the annual plan. Now, back to the video though, guys. Let's start off with the build ASAP tier. So at the top, it should be no surprise, we have Lily. So she's the best support in the game. If you have Nell, the new SR character that's running on Lilium's banner, if you guys watching this in the future, it ended, but she is an SR character. She's a good replacement until you get Lily. Honestly, very good. She replaces Lily in some areas, but Lily's amazing because she is going to be a jack of all trades, and you can pretty much bring her into every single team, every single content, and she's very good with her speed buff and her twin trick passive buff to buff your DPS. Just an amazing support, the best one in the game, not really much to be said. For PvE, she is going to be the best character. Next, we have Yeli, so she is the best PvE DPS. So surprise, surprise, we have the best PvE support and the best PvE DPS at the top 2 spots. And the reason is because Yeli has a ton of AoE burst, a ton of single target burst, a ton of sustained damage, and also she has a crit buff for herself, and she has a defense down on enemies, which makes her very self-sufficient and does not really need to rely on too many characters to get her job done. Best damage dealer, she's also elemental neutral, so she's going to be insanely strong in every area of content besides maybe like one boss in Shadowflame Hoyan. Next we have Ling Luo. She's the best healer in the game for PvE and probably PvP. She has an amazing S3 with immunity, she has a ton of AoE healing, she has a lot of burst healing and a lot of sustained healing, and she has good dispelling. She's available after 1 week of playing on your account from the check-in event. So once you get her, you want to build her ASAP because she is super strong. You just slap speed on her and whatever tanky stats you can put on her, and she will carry you through the early game and mid game, and even into the late game because your team will never die with her. Next we have Klaus. So Klaus is the character that most people go for off the targeted banner, and the reason is because she's just broken. She has the best debuffs in the game. She has defense down, which will make your team do more damage. She has speed down, which will make your team cycle and lap the enemies faster, which is OP. And she has hacking progress or hack in, which will make you do more damage and take less damage. Just the best debuffer in the game for PvE. Although she's not used in PvP, she's just so good in PvE and overall content that you will want to build her if you have her. Next we have Fushu. So Fushu is going to be one of the best healers in the game. She's kind of different than Ling Luo in the sense that she relies on shielding and she'll turn meter push her team more, but she has a very good speed buff. So if you don't have Lily, she's even better because she can actually boost your team's speed and boost their turn meter while healing them every time they take a turn and get hit, which makes her an invaluable support and one that you definitely want to build for PvE content. So next we have the high priority tier. So these characters are also going to be very good to build, but you want to kind of think about it a bit before you build them because they will have a little bit more limited usage, although they're still very good in a lot of areas of content. So Rosa is going to be one of the best single target damage dealers in the game. It's the one DPS I don't have built, and every time I run into content where she's good in, I always mouse over and say, wow, do I build her or do I not build her? And I always contemplate because she's just good in a lot of content, especially if you don't have Yelly. She's very good in a lot of single target fights. For shell bosses, she's amazing. For Aurora, she's like the best DPS there in my opinion, tied probably with Yelly. She's also decent in Doki Doki, and there's a lot of stages where you need single target damage, maybe like Union Boss and stuff like that, where she's amazing. Definitely the best blue DPS in the game in my opinion. There's another one later down this list, actually in the same tier, that's also going to rival her, but I think Rosa edges her out because she just does so much single target damage with her passive. Next we have Shadow Sonya. So in the past, I think honestly it might be a build ASAP for some players that really like to use her, but you don't really need her anymore, but she's still very good to build. The biggest upside to her is she makes Shadow Flame Hoyan on Inferno very easy, and she also makes Terramaton on Inferno very easy. So she makes 2 Inferno fights very easy and very accessible to early game players, which is great. And she's also very good in stuff like Ethernet Rally, Ember Trek, and Async Echoes. Because of that, you will eventually want to build her if you have her because she cheeses a lot of stages. But, you know, you have to keep in mind she doesn't work in traditional comps. You have to run a specific comp around her, which is why I don't have her on the build ASAP tier because you do need to build supporting cast around her. But if you do have her in that supporting cast, she's amazingly strong in the content that allows dots to apply. Some bosses are immune to dots, so you have to be careful, but in the ones that aren't, she is probably the best character. Messiah, he's kind of like a power crept Lily in terms of PvE. He's still amazing, I know. He's element neutral, does a ton of AoE damage, has invulnerability. The only area of content that I think he's better than Yelly is like Doki Doki because he can't die. But the thing is, in other areas of content, he's kind of just a slightly worse version of Yelly. However, if you have him and you want to actually get a good DPS that's like very universal, he's still amazing. He's still very good. If anything, I think like he's very slightly below Yelly, but he's still a very solid DPS. Before Yelly actually came out a month ago, Messiah was the go-to like jack of all trades DPS, so yeah, he's still very good. You can clear pretty much all the content with him. He just does a little bit less damage than Yelly, but still very solid. Giada is the other blue DPS I was talking about. She's very good too, very good in Doki Doki especially, very good in Aurora. The thing is, Rosa is more specialized for single target, and Giada is more specialized for AoE. And the thing is, there's more single target fights than AoE fights in the game, that's why I have Rosa higher. But Giada does work on slightly less investment, so that's a plus. But the thing is, when you bring her into content, your runs will be inherently slow because she needs to ramp up. Still a solid DPS, I wish I had her, I would have built her a long time ago. Definitely a good character you want to build, especially if you're lacking a good DPS, or an AoE DPS to be specific. Mia, she's a very good low investment character. You actually don't need to put any lattices into her, which is going to be great. This is going to be like one of the few characters, if I didn't talk about it, but Ling Luo, Klaus, and Fushu can work without lattices. Ling Luo, you will want to max her S1 eventually, but these 4 are very good without lattices, and she's amazing in Aurora, amazing in Terramaton, and can be used in Sharon. So definitely a solid PvE unit. She's a very good support healer, reduces your cooldowns. She's going to be the best red healer support in the game. Freya, also a 0 lattice investment character. She is amazing in Doki Doki. She's also amazing in a lot of Ember Trek stages and stuff like that. And she's very good in one shot, especially for Terramatons. Because of that, she is definitely a high priority, mostly because she is low investment. You just have to level her up and she's good to go because she doesn't require any lattices for PvE. So this makes her very strong because she has a lot of very good buffs, which aren't really locked behind skill ups, such as defense buff. She can purify your team, she has attack buff, she can turn meter push, and she has a very powerful debuff that can make you do more damage, so it's a very good character to build. Tsukiyomi is kind of like a Lily replacement. She's going to be very good in Aurora instead of Lily. She's also pretty decent in stuff like Nico Nana and can be used in Doki Doki. More focused for PvP, I'd say, for Cleave people, but the thing is, when you're first starting off, Cleave, like fast teams that one-shot like very quickly in PvP, is going to be the preferred playstyle because they're easier to build, and she's the best enabler for that. So definitely a good character to build. If you have her, she's going to be decent for you for a long time, especially if you're newer to the game, so definitely a character you want to build. For PvE content, she's pretty low investment as well, but for PvP, you will have to max her S3, so very good character in that sense. So good Lily replacement, good turn meter pusher, and damage dealer buffer. Doki Doki is going to be another high priority character. This one is hard for me to rate because in PvE she's around here, but for PvP she's like the best PvP character in the game. So I decided to just put her here because I think most new players will not want to build her. She's a very late game character because she requires to be maxed. You want her 555 to be good in PvP. So if you're super late game and getting into PvP, she's like probably at the top of the list. But for like 99% of players, I'd say she's going to be around here. She definitely needs to be maxed out, but if you do have the spare lattice to do it, because you have everything on farm, she is the best character in PvP, while being a great character in PvE. So that's my logic behind her being here. I know you could probably put her up in the list if you want to, talk about if we're in a vacuum and you have unlimited lattice, but for now, I think she should be here. I think later on when the game develops more, I'll probably put her up more because we'll have more lattice, but for now, she's going to be in the middle, near the bottom of the high priority tier. Next, we have Lilium. So Lilium's kind of the same as Doki Doki, mostly for PvP. Doki Doki is just better than her in PvP though, and I think their usage in PvE is pretty similar. Doki Doki's kind of like a support, Lilium's kind of like a DPS that counters CC and stuff like that, so not really much to say. Both PvP centric, but not PvP only, if that makes sense. They're a lot more flexible than these PvP only characters, and they do require a lot of investment, so that's why they are here. Next, we have the niche tier. I'll talk about their niche very quickly because there's not really much to say, but we have Holden. He's going to be used for dispelling for Aurora and also Terramaton, so he's very, very good there. Outside of that, not really good anywhere else. You can use him in Rengokutsu in a bruiser team. Romoka is going to be a Doki Doki one-shot character. Best character for Doki Doki if you're speed clearing, especially during 2x. Beyonton is going to be a one-shot character for pretty much any single boss in the game. If you're looking to speed clear in your late game, you're just trying to make your clears faster and your farms faster, she is the best character for that to buff your team and requires 0 investment. We have Celine. She is going to be insanely powerful in Shadow Flame Hoyan. She makes the boss go from one of the most toxic fights in terms of units that you require to the easiest fight in the game almost. So because of that, she's very good. We have Mio, going to be used for Doki Doki one-shot. We have Nahor, also going to be used for Doki Doki one-shot. We have Veronica, going to be used for Terramaton one-shot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Heinrich is going to be used for Aurora one-shot and also Terramaton one-shot. We have Chloros, very good in Terramaton and also Aurora boss fights, and also decent in Inferno, Rengokutsu, and also Sharon. So I guess maybe I should have put him up more because he does have more than like 3 bosses where he's good. We have Hoyan, who is going to be for Terramaton one-shot only. So that's the niche tier. Let's actually talk about the PvP characters now. Rahu, Tiamat, and Lilith. They're like 3 really good bruisers. Holden is like a part of this like four-person, squad. But these guys are going to be the core of the bruiser playstyle in PvP right now. So yeah, if you do get to the late game, these 4 are very good to build because they're all amazing in PvP in the slow tank down meta. They all have different ways that they're good. For example, Holden's just broken, so you can pick him whenever. Tiamat's better against cleave players and CC players. Rahu's better Similar to Holden, he's kind of just like broken, but you want to avoid picking him in against Cleave because he gets shut down pretty easily. And Lilith is mostly going to be for Bruiser versus Bruiser mirrors. And then we have Hellkid and Born. They're kind of lackluster. I think Hellkid just got buffed. He's good if you invest heavily into him, but it's pretty hard to do that. And he's mostly going to be for against control, so pretty niche in that sense. Born is a decent character, it's just that he requires heavy lattice investment and he's really bad in the bloodbath meta. So because of that, you know, he's not going to be the best one to build, but I've seen people use him. He also gets kind of hard shut down by Lilium, so you have to keep that in mind. And yeah, we have Lilium at the bottom here, not a good character honestly. She's good early game, you want to get her quests done with her, but after you complete her chapter in the Hyperlink Charter, you can just reset her and not ever use her again. But yeah, this is pretty much the tier list for the SSRs that you want to prioritize. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about it. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.